Welcome back to the Code to Cure Ainnocence webinar series, where we unpack the tools and technologies shaping the future of biotech. So today, our topic is what biological foundation models means for drug discovery industry. My name is Roger Wen, and with me again is Dr. Pan, the CEO and founder of Ainnocence.
Excited to be here. This is a topic that's transforming the field faster than many realize.
So, this session is pre-recorded, but we are watching the comments. So if you have something that's interesting or sparked your curiosity, then you want to share with us, feel free to leave a note, and we would love to hear from you. And we might actually address them in the next video. Now let's get started with the basics. When people say biological foundation models, what do they actually mean? Can you elaborate more, Dr. Pan?
Yes, absolutely. So, first of all, foundation model is a term in the AI field that has widely been defined in different domains. But in biology, particularly speaking, is we're using, for example, DNA sequence and protein sequence that is even without any label to do a unsupervised learning on a large quantity of those data and to lay in a foundation of the model that be able to learn the features of those we call this the sequence informations of these biological molecules and to support the upper layers application. Uh, yeah, so in general, it's a pre-trained model with unlabeled biologic data, primarily are protein and DNA or RNA sequences.
That makes sense. But I think we also heard the traditional computational model in biology. How are those foundation models different from those traditional computational models?
Yeah, definitely. So, first of all, foundation model are to support the basically AI modeling of the biologic entities such as proteins, genes, and other molecules. And it's completely machine learning based philosophy, let's say that. But in the past, to compute biologic systems, we have different type of models rather than AI and machine learning model. We have like biophysics model that is basically using quantum mechanics, molecular dynamics, those physics functions to model the atoms and molecule behaviors of the biologic system. And sometimes we use models such as finite element and other type of coarse-grained models to model in larger scales of the biologic models from a physics perspectives. However, foundation model and any AI model are completely different branch of biology, mostly are laid on the theoretic foundation of bioinformatics, which we only take the information perspective of biology rather than the physics perspective of biology, and trying to, make sense of those information in the biological function and activity side.
Gotcha.
That. Mhm.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's more advanced than the traditional model. So can you give us some snapshot examples of where those biological foundation models are actually being applied in the industry right now?
Yeah, so it has actually been widely used in, let's separate it in two domains. First is let's talk about protein. So there's companies such as Google, Facebook, and many other academic groups that have been leverage foundation model of protein sequences, which they lay basically learn using a language model to model the entire nature's protein sequences. And now on top of that, they can predict such as a protein folding, protein function, protein interaction on top of that, and also be able to create generative model to design completely novel artificial protein sequences that is not exist in nature. And then on the other hand, those DNA foundation model are, for example, one institute in California, they released two models. One is the Evo and Evo 2, which they learned most all the genome information of many species and human, and then be able to predict many behavior on the genome level, such as design completely new DNA code that could change the cellular behavior or could also create new type of bacteria for certain function, predict the CRISPR-Cas9 like their positions on the DNA. So those are, also very advanced in terms of really understanding our human genome, which even we already sequenced them, but not being able to fully understand their individual functions. And then another type is the cell foundation model that's also been recently released by Arc Institute called the State. In that model, they basically learned at the single cell sequencing result to kind of mimic the virtual cell behaviors and be able to understand the cellular behavior for any type of perturbation being applied to the cell. So those are all biologic foundation model, but the focus of subjects is slightly different. But they can really answer a lot more questions in molecular and cellular level than any of the model has been created in the past. So I would say this is actually a big move in the biology field that we go so far that be able to eventually decode the how life is being generated and comes to life, and also to really understand the central dogma of life science.
Got it. So I think the next question is there a way we can quantify the improvement of those foundation models compared with the traditional model? Like, can you give us some examples where those models have actually made a measurable impact?
Yeah, so I would say most of the impact this model is being made is qualitatively, is like we'll be able to really answer question we are not be able to answer in the past. But quantitatively, I can give you two example. First is in terms of generating like a completely new sequence of proteins that is also functional. In the past, we have no way to understand how protein sequence related to its function. And then we can only study like existing, for example, enzyme functions of certain species, but we don't really know how to change or enhance their functions by changing the sequence. But currently, the generative model that built upon the foundation model is able to generate completely functional protein sequences that only have 30% similarities to naturally existent sequences of the same enzyme function. So it is just really amazing that AI can completely artificially design, functional molecules even not exist in nature, and with very distinctive, different like homology. This is just beyond our understanding in the past. And the second is like we in many years we were trying to basically solving problems such as protein folding and be able to predict protein binding. And we have very limited data to achieve that very limited accuracy. But with the foundation model, we'll be able to boost those predictions by 5 to 10% across, all domains. So that is also, we can see how that impact the difference. I have analogies just like when we have the human large language model being first studied in like 2015, nobody believed that it would be able to gain intelligence until in 2021 when ChatGPT released the first model that eventually those human language foundation model has a singularity point that it's just all of a sudden be able to have some intelligence like very close to human, and a similar event happens in the biological foundation model. At a certain point there's a turning point that it just certainly after we learn the foundation of all the sequences, and then we will understand their functions just overnight. So that's kind of like that singularity point. Yeah.
Got it. So, but just in order to not be too optimistic, is there any challenges we're facing? What are the main limitations right now that we still have towards those foundation models?
Yeah, there's still limitation. I think the most limitation is right now we're already almost exhausted all the data that is there in the in the life science, like all the protein sequences and all the DNA sequences of all the species on the planet. But we still couldn't like completely understand life. I think the limitation lies in one is the algorithm we use might not, completely align with the biologics theory. It's just a very like general large language model type of algorithm we apply it to natural language, and then we do the same to like biologic sequences. But that might not be the correct approach. There might be very different meanings of the sequences of our life than our, human language that could be able to really encoding life in a very complicated way. So that we need to know. So I think algorithm innovation is definitely a direction to go to overcome that limitation.